Hello, Gen Chem 1 class. This is our last 2 weeks of school. So today begins week 13, which is on November 30th. I have already set up Module 7 for you to begin working for this week. Everything for this week is actually already there. You can see here's the textbook reference about gases. You can also see we have an ALEKS objective due at 3 p.m. on the 30th, that's today. These are from last week's topics. Then you're going to open up the new topics at 3:01 p.m. They're all about gases. So what you're doing in lecture is the same thing in ALEKS, and it's the same thing you're doing in lab this week. Everybody is on the same page. So each of your lab instructors have communicated or should have communicated plans to you for how they are going to help you learn the material. But essentially, the DUMA method is an independent, at-home, virtual experiment. So you're going to want to try to do it probably before your scheduled lab session, because your lab professors will be there to help you work through your understanding of the calculations and the report that you're turning in. So anyway, the material to support you for the lecture perspective on that lab assignment is right here for the textbook. And then for the video, for the lectures, you want to print out your lecture notes, watch this video. It's an hour. I would chop it up if I were you. And I've even told you exactly where the sample calculation for the DUMA method begins. The material before that is important to understand, but if you already have a pretty good grasp on the gas laws, maybe you just look at that part. Most high schools do not cover the DUMA method as part of their gas topic. So definitely something everybody should take a look at there. The introductory material before that may be familiar to some of you, but it's probably worth reviewing. Okay, so this is before you get into lab, before you do your lab experiment, as well as before you come to class. So I'm expecting that you've already taken notes by the time you get there. And then also the only other thing we have this week is 2 responses. They should be substantial responses, not simply agreeing or disagreeing, to the discussion that we started before the break. Okay. You can also see our schedule for next week up here. I haven't put the lecture video up there yet, but this is what we're covering. I don't expect you to read each of these chapters cover to cover. I've given you the important ones here. But basically, we're going to be talking about intermolecular forces next week. And it also talking about how solids are structured. That's part of the experiment you're going to do for the crystal structures packet, which will also be a Zoom meeting, not in person. So no one is coming to campus for lab anymore, except for by very special arrangement if you were sick last week. The other thing for next week to look for is I'm going to change, I'm changing up the final. So I thought I was going to use ALEKS. I set up a practice test in one of the classes, and when I was doing it, I realized it was not equivalent to the ACS test. Essentially, the questions are much more, I don't know, they would take you longer to do than I wanted, and as a review, it was too much to fit in. They weren't multiple choice questions, and so it doesn't really align with what I was planning for your syllabus. So instead, I am going to set up, and I'll be setting it up this week so you can work on it, but it'll be due on the 11th. You're going to have a different practice exam to do. It's going to be built into Blackboard. I want to give you the chance to do that final exam practice, not to review so much as because knowing how to take the exam in Blackboard is essential before you actually take your final. So I'm going to give you some points for just learning the technology, essentially. So I hope to get that exam posted by Tuesday, the 1st of December, to give you 10 days to do it. You can go in and retake it, and again, that's going to count as a homework assignment. Okay, you can retake it until you get all the right answers if you want to. That's fine. But it's important as as a studying tool that when you get a question wrong, you figure out why you were wrong and write that down. That way, when you take your actual final, you're less likely to make that mistake. Okay, so I realized that the schedule was not spaced out correctly, but I fixed it. So the review test I'm talking about is a homework assignment. It is graded, and essentially I need you to complete it in order to know that you'll understand how to navigate a Blackboard exam. Okay, we are not using ALEKS for the final exam. I'm going to use a Blackboard exam instead. But make sure you go in and try the practice that will be posted on the 1st and available until the 11th at 3 p.m. You can take it over and over again. That's up to you. Okay. The other thing I'm providing to you now to begin studying for your final is a packet of review questions. These are a good thing to go through and just kind of, if you can print them, that's good. If not, save a copy of it on your computer and do the work the way I've been showing you all semester, using dimensional analysis, using the correct significant figures, using units. All those things are still important. They are probably the most important things you'll take out of this class, at least as far as applying it to your future classes. Okay, so that's that. I just also want to touch on ALEKS. Remember, there's still up to 20 points available to you each week, so that's this week and next week, where if you go into ALEKS for at least 15 minutes for 5 days in any given week, you'll get the 20 points. If you only go in for 4 days, then you get 16. And if you only go in for 3 days, then you get 12, and on like that. So once again, cramming all the material in one sitting at a time is not a good strategy. It's kind of like Thanksgiving dinner, right? If you try to eat all of the food produced at one time, it's going to make you sick. It's not all going to stick. If you spread it out over a couple days, much better result. All right, and so the topics that are wrapping up today at 3 p.m. are the ones we talked about before break. Molecular orbital diagrams and all that. Beginning today at 3 p.m., we start looking at gases. So these topics, some of you have already mastered parts of these anyway from your prior work. It doesn't make you redo those, so that's great. If you haven't mastered them, then it will give you the opportunity to do so. Remember that if you finish the topics early for any given week, you get to go back and work on anything you're missing. This is an important thing at this point in the semester because there's not a lot of time left to finish things. And then next week, let's see if I can get it on the screen. Okay, well, the title's cut off. Week 14, due next Monday at 3 p.m. Sorry, Monday after next. Week 13 topics are due next Monday at 3 p.m. Opening next Monday at 3:01 p.m. and due the following Monday, the 11th, is our Chapter 11 and 12 work, which is mostly about intermolecular forces and about how crystals form. Okay, so that's what you have left. At the end of that, after the 7th, we'll have one more open pie period to catch anything else you need to finish in ALEKS. Remember that ALEKS is a pretty significant part of your grade, and you have 2 different grades, one for each objective being completed on time, and a separate one for all of the topics being covered by the end of the semester. The more topics you get, the bigger that grade is. So that's what the open pie period is at the end of the term. It's also a nice way to go back and review some stuff. Okay. If you feel like you don't have enough ways for studying for the final, I can create an additional assignment in ALEKS that is called a comprehensive knowledge check. If you're interested in that, come and talk to me or send me an email and we can do that. It will test you on all kinds of different topics. It's kind of time consuming, but some of us may benefit from that. It's up to you. Otherwise, I would suggest looking at this packet here, which doesn't have answers in it, so that's one downside, but you can come and get them from me if you want to talk about them. If you did not see my email from before break, make sure you understand that when your final exam is, it doesn't coincide with your lecture periods exactly, so make sure you look at the email. Exams are only Monday and Tuesday, so if you're a Friday class, we couldn't fit you in. If you're a Wednesday class, we had to move you to Monday. So check your email for those scheduled times. If you can't make it during your scheduled window, you need to choose one of the other 2 times and send me an email. Please let me know what class you're in and which session you want to attend. Then I'll get you on the calendar. You need to do that as soon as possible so that I've got everything arranged. Okay. We got 2 more weeks left. You guys can do it. Just hang in there. It'll be okay.